Welcome to the Whole Pro Podcast, presented by the Tennessee Section PGA. I'm Jim Vernon, former president of the Tennessee Section PGA, and with me is my partner in crime, as always, Virgil Herring, two-time Tennessee Section Teacher of the Year and TED Talker. Hey, before we get going today, first of all, always got to ring the bell to get going. You and I talked about this the other day, but I always like to talk about some personal stuff because I know that everybody's going to be interested in this. Tell us a little bit about what you got to do last month, and more importantly, what you're going to get to do in April, and so we can all live vicariously through you a little bit.
Well, you're very kind. So I got a chance to play Augusta National with Jackson Harrington, who's the runner-up for the 2025 USAM. So he'll be playing in the Masters. So he got his chance to do his first practice round there with me, and I got a chance to take my oldest son, and we were there with a member. And obviously, when it's 47 and spit and rain, it's not like the greatest. That's not what it's going to be like at the Masters, hopefully.
Yeah.
But to be able to play with a boy that you taught since he was 6 years old, and your son that you've been coaching since he could stand upright on the most hallowed grounds in all of golf, with a member that I've been coaching for over 20 years, it really doesn't get much better than that. But to be able to get ready for something, especially you're a 19-year-old kid. You have multiple evidences, like a kindergarten picture where he has himself in a green jacket saying that I'm going to play in the Masters.
I love that so much. I've heard that before.
It's that. And he wrote a letter to Santa Claus about, being in the Masters. So he's got all these stuff when he was a little kid. He's 19. He's going to get a chance to fulfill a pretty gigantic goal in life and to be a part of it again, because this is the second big-time amateur winner that I've had the opportunity to go to the Masters with, the other one being Brant. And I was actually when I was at Hermitage.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's a long time ago.
I know.
And to be able to be involved in, once again, being a conduit between where kids are when they come to see me and their dreams, to be that vessel that takes people from one side to the other is a pretty cool dream to have. And I've been able to do it a handful of times, and it's a pretty wild ride.
Now, do you know how that's going to work, since you've done it before, but the week of the tournament? You get to be right there in the middle on the range. All the stuff that we all just wish that we could do, right?
Yeah,
because he's going to be in your hip pocket, or you're in his, whichever way it works, for the whole week, basically, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to be there the Saturday before. So we're going to be there in the afternoon as the Augusta National Women's Amateur ends. And when that ends, which is like 2:30-ish without a playoff, then anybody that's there can go get their more practice rounds in.
Okay.
So as you would be a 19-year-old, you're going to get as many rounds of golf as you can
100%.
possibly going to get in as you can. So he's going to be there on Saturday. We'll watch the end of the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Then we'll play on Saturday. And then on Sunday is the drive, chip, and putt.
Right.
So he wants to be a part of that, see that. And then when that ends, back out we'll go again. And then it all really officially starts Monday morning. But I'll be inside the ropes, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. And then I won't be inside the ropes again, except I'll be on the driving range, obviously, and on the putting green. But I won't be walking inside of it.
Okay.
But then, it's really a very long week for a coach, right? So you're there at 6:30 in the morning, especially, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because he's not going to miss a minute of daylight. So it's there, getting everybody going through the bag, and trying to get his head wrapped around that. These greens are fast and they're firm right now, but only putt downhill. Don't putt uphill. It's only going to get much faster from here. And and then get a good solid game plan. But the most important piece to me for any of them is, how do you handle the first 5 holes on Thursday when it's your dream? I don't even know who he's playing. He won't find out who he's playing with until Tuesday. And I don't really think that there's any tried and true method of where the runner-up in the U.S. Amateur gets put in. But it's going to be somebody really good, because the Masters is the pretty tight-knit of all tight-knit tee times, so to speak. It's a dream, right? To be able to do something that you love to do, help kids achieve their dreams on the grandest stage, man, it's going to be wild.
I do have my own Augusta story, which is also one of the other reasons I want to bring it up, because I've been fortunate enough to play it. I was a sophomore in college. I went to school here at Vanderbilt, as you know. So I'm standing in my dorm room, and I get a call from the coach. He's like, hey, this is like on Wednesday night, Friday or tomorrow. I know this is last minute, but I need you all to be ready because we're gonna drive to Augusta and play. And I was like, who is this? This is not real, all the things. An alum had invited us to go down and play. So we go, and it was similar to that. It was February, it was probably 50-ish, and it was spitting rain. Nobody cared. I was nervous as hell on the first tee. We're the only 8 people out there. There was another group, there was a group that went ahead of us. I could barely draw it back on the first tee with nobody watching, all right? I hit it almost all the way over into 9 fairway off the first tee. But there are just some things that I remember about that day. Actually, I remember the whole day. We played as much as we could. We played 27. We played a par 3. We were dead after the round was over. But I do remember specifically being on 12T, and I hit a shot that I think is just going in the freaking hole. And I'm posing like, get in, and and everybody's, oh, Vern, that looks great. Well, it hits on the bank and goes back in the water. I make 5. The very next hole, and I'm not going to give you the whole round, don't worry. I hit this big toey hook on 13, and I pull out a 2-iron. And so I step up to it when it's my turn, and I nut it right at it and hit it about 20 feet. Well, I turn around, and all the caddies are high-fiving each other. And I'm like, what's going on? And my caddy looks at me and was like, well, dude, we bet on your all shots the entire round. He said, we thought you were laying up. We thought you were laying up. And then, where'd you get that? Where'd that come from? I said, I have no idea. I just careered it. I just thought I could get it there. I guess I could. He goes, oh, I would have never told you to go for it. So anyway, we laughed at those guys. It's funny how you remember, I'm 60 years old, and I can still remember so many shots through, specific moments and when we play places like that or experiences like that. So we're going to be watching close as you guys go do it. So I can't wait to hear more about that when you go.
I think that the little preface, right? So if those of you who don't know Jackson Harrington, he's a sophomore at the University of Tennessee. His nickname is the Fridge because he's sizable. And he hits it about 400 yards.
Yes, he does.
So our first hole was 10. So the member decides that if we want to get 27 in, it's probably best for us to play 10, 1, and 10 versus 1, 10, 1. So 515, sharply down the hill, par 4, 10th hole. I hit it like 315, but down the right side. So I'm like 208, ball below my feet, 4-iron. Jack has 88.
Come on, man.
And he's down in the flat.
88.
Down in the flat. He hits lob wedge to a foot, and I'm hitting 4-iron, not to a foot.
I know.
And I'm like, wow.
It's a different game.
It's just.
And you still move it out there. You're younger than I am, but you still really move it out there. So to think that there's your level and there's that, I can't. They play a different game.
A different game.
So,
like on the 12th hole, my son hits to like 2 feet. Jack hits behind the hole, spins, almost goes in to like 3 feet. I hit it. I'm the hacker. I hit it to like 7 feet. And I'm like, this is
the chop to 7 feet.
Everything is just going so great. But like, people just can't imagine, and this is my 3rd time to play it, you can't prepare yourself for the lie angles that you're going to get on that golf course. There's no place to practice the second shot on 10, the second shot on 8, the second shot on 13. I mean, there are such radical lies.
And you think you know on TV, but you just don't know till you get there. Like when you stand right front of 14, you can barely see the top of the green where you would be putting it up there. It's ridiculous.
Exactly right. So, and I've had a chance to see it, one on TV. I've seen it as a spectator outside the rope. I've seen it as a coach standing there but not have a golf club in my hands. And I've had a golf club in my hands. And each one is progressively more wow.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Like the first time I saw Brant play 10, I'm like, man, I can't imagine hitting a shot. But I didn't have a club in my hand trying to find that posture. But the first time I did, I'm like, I think I hurt my neck because I was like trying to look at the green from where I was on. It's pretty insane. So to be able to experience that is a dream for most people. And to be able to do it with 2 teenagers that literally just, it was just unbelievable.
That's great.
But when I was at Augusta, it's interesting. When you go into the pro shop, there are 2 head pros that have their own staff. So there's a morning and an afternoon shift of pros.
Okay.
And when you go into the pro shop, you're assigned a pro. And that pro follows you around and gets whatever you want. And whatever you pull out, Like, and he look, that looks pretty good. He folds it back up and then goes back into the warehouse and pulls out everything is already pre-wrapped. So obviously Augusta National is the standard of a variety of ways, right? But the customer service piece, as you might expect, was literally off the chart. Because I walk in, and they know I'm there as a PGA professional. He welcomes me, and Jack and Lucas are there, and the members in there for just real quick. And it's just like, so you have Steven. So I'm like, he's walking around.
Well, like Steven is your concierge.
He's my concierge for my whole shopping experience. My son has his own. Jack has it, and people just walking around. They look like drapes.
I'm
like,
sure.
I want that, and I want this.
2 of these, 3 of these naked lady tees. Yeah.
But like, that's one side of the customer service pile. And then there's swinging all the way over to like a park course or a privately owned little muni that you see all across the heartland of the United States. What is it about what you can do in either side of that equation, whether it's you have all of the amenities and all of the staff that you could ever want, or you're as bare bones as you can possibly be? What are some of the things that are essential about, one, knowing what you have and how to get the best out of it?
Well, I think you need to know what you have. I mean, because what you have is I have this much to work with, right? So if I'm at Augusta, there's an expectation of things that's just not the same as it is someplace else. There's a budgetary things. There's just, it's a whole nother world, but it doesn't mean that one is more or less important. I have to do what I do within my little home, my little house there, and what I keep up with. And I want to do, whatever I'm doing, I always said that if I ran a car wash, I want to run the best car wash that I possibly can, and these are the ways that I want to try to do it. And I know service is a big piece of that, because you can serve somebody well, just as well at the muni wherever mom and pop owned as you do at Augusta. It's just different in how you serve, because it's how we connect. Now, before we get too far down that service road again, let's talk about because I could talk about service forever when we get going. One of the things that we wanted to discuss here today was kind of, what would you call it? The how off course versus on course participation, what that looks like. We're sitting in front of a simulator now. What it means. I grew up in the business at a green grass facility, and now with all that we see happening with the off course stuff. Talk to me a little bit about how you've seen that, and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it too.
So about 2017-ish, 18-ish, TrackMan and GC Quad, the technology got good enough that what was happening in about a 12-foot space could be read and mathematically interpreted to within less than a percent error from reality. So until then, there's really no great teacher teaching indoor only. Right. But
what do you say, that's 17, 18?
Yeah, 2017 or 18. So at this particular point, this idea that I have, what I'm doing here, isn't really possible if you're like the person who's teaching a lot of the best players. But as soon as TrackMan was able to capture correct data in a short distance, now I don't have to move my cameras all the time to move around with the divot pattern. I don't have to constantly be moving my camera to make sure I got good down the line and good face-on footage. Well, now I'm just hitting off basically the same spot. The cameras are fixed. Everything's where I need it. So that's a bonus, right? When I left the golf industry, like the club industry, and moved to an alternative, which was at a high school, and then we had 3 TrackMan and an awesome short game area inside, I did a feasibility, like how many days in Nashville, Tennessee were between 60 and 85 and sunny? 86 days. Right? So that's 1 in 4, 1 in 4.2, right? So that means there's only going to be 3 days every 2 weeks for the entire year that I would have good weather. So I'm like, wow, so I got weather on my side now because it's 70 and sunny every day here in my little slice of San Diego. Right? So that's a bonus. And then, obviously, you have to have a book of business, but now all of this is my own personal profit center. I'm not sharing it with anybody. I'm not sharing it with anything. Then that goes back to our first show, entrepreneurship and the things that we can do. Now, you can't really come out of college and put one of these in your house and think you're going to be busy. But if you establish yourself at a club for 5-7 years and you get a book of business, it might be something that you're going to start seeing more and more teachers doing. I know there's a lot of teachers that are doing it.
Right.
Because of that. And therein lies the next dilemma. How's that going to transfer when the pendulum swings too far and there's no lessons or not really any good lessons being taught at the club anymore? It's all entry-level people. How's that going to affect the general manager or the people that are running the club saying, we got to get a good teacher in here? Well, you can't get a good teacher because that good teacher's already making 100% of what he's making in his own.
Why would he want to come, and have to whatever rent or do whatever with your facility? She doesn't necessarily need your facility anymore, right?
That's exactly right. And then you have that, and then you have other high traffic zones like Topgolf, Pop Stroke, the putting zone. And I can't remember what the other, I think it's the Shack or something like that, that's similar to Topgolf. Right? Well, now you got all kinds of people coming in that don't even own clubs. They got Callaway was the major money behind Topgolf.
Right.
So all of the clubs that you can get are sitting in each bay are just old, rebranded Callaway clubs that they're hitting. They got chipped out of balls, and people go there, and it's like a bowling alley with golf, and a heavy amount of the profit comes from alcohol and food and beverage consumption, because they're not really killing it much just by people going in there whacking balls, but it's the pizza, onion rings, and a pitcher of margaritas, where that's the model, right? I think that those things do have a shelf life until they're kind of not the coolest thing in the world anymore, but it did and always will be a great place for the intro to golf.
That is where I wanted to go with that, because you kind of talked about it from the instruction side. When I think about it from the facility side, I remember when Topgolf had just really kind of started to take off, and this, I think this was before Callaway actually got involved with them, but they were building one in Nashville, and I called, and our first thought as facility owners and green grass guys and girls was, is this friend or foe? Okay, is this going to cannibalize what we're trying to do here? Or could it be a good thing? I was on the side that I'm not going to be afraid of this. I think anything that puts a golf club in somebody's hand, that we're going to have a shot at some point to hopefully get them out at our place. So I looked through some material and tried to find a regional director who was out of Atlanta for our area, and called him, introduced myself, and said, look, I don't know if you've ever done anything like this, but is there an opportunity for us to partner in some way? And partner, I meant like, what if we get rained out? If there's something, I didn't even know what that looked like, but I wanted to have the conversation to see, how these things might go together instead of being afraid of it. And I went and I made the exact same analogy. I thought it was golf. It was like bowling with guardrails on it, that even if you didn't play, that you could still enjoy that game. And I mean, let's just be honest, it's not going anywhere, at least now. I say that's not going anywhere. I was reading, Callaway's unloaded their piece of Topgolf now, okay? So I read a great article the other day talking about some of that bigger footprint stuff, like the really biggest, the initial capital and just the footprint of that place. You really got to do a lot there over a period of time to make that make sense. So that has waned a little bit, but I just read the National Golf Foundation stuff on 25. We had roughly 48 million golfers last year, all right, which is a record, and 19 million of those people were exclusively off course. Okay, now not all Topgolf, but I think, as they said, that was waning. The other stuff that we talked about, the Pop Strokes, or I think about here in town, the Sanctuary, some of these indoor places that cater to more than just going and hitting front in on a track, man. It's the extra piece of it. I know guys and girls that go down there that take their computer with them and they do some work. They got little stalls where you can do stuff and work there. Go hit balls for a little bit, come back and finish your day, kind of thing. So it's evident that that's not going where. That I didn't read far enough to see if there was any kind of data on how many of those people that ended up playing at a green grass, a new person or somebody that had lapsed, if they came back, was this the feeder that led them there or not? In some cases, we know it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
So, I would encourage people that don't be afraid of that. Let's figure out how to make that better. I mean, golf is thriving everywhere right now for the most part, and that is a big. I was shocked by that number. I thought that was a really big number. That means, and the 29 million if my math is right. Is that right? Yeah. Well, that's not 29 million that just played green. That means they played green grass and this other stuff. The 19 was just exclusive.
Yeah.
So even of the other 29, some of them are playing off-course stuff as well. So I think it's one of those things where if you bow up and say this is going to be bad, you're going to be behind.
Yeah. So now you're starting to see the clubs are kind of like, okay, so we have to do something. Do we have to put 2, 3 TrackMan in our facility,
right,
so that we can capture those people, keep them here, we can serve them the drinks that they want, and therein lies this unique place in the golf industry, which is, I don't think these golf sanctuary hideouts, I don't believe they can thrive with just simulator only. It's like just 6 simulators.
I think you're probably right.
You have to have an F&B component.
Yep.
For sure. And a good friend of mine and fellow Mississippi Stater, Errol Helling, that group that they own the Hideout, I think that's what theirs is called. They're doing a great job because they're also doing golf trips as if they are a country club.
Okay.
And they go actually play real golf. They take all these people 6 times a year to like Whistling Straits and Bandon Dunes and Pinehurst and, all of the usual suspects for travel golf. Now they have a club, but it's open 24/7. It's not relying on daylight.
Right.
And therein lies that's a pretty good business model. But you have to be shrewd, and you can't just be a golf teacher, because you're going to need to understand the F&B portion of it if you're going to own it. So once again, what is that encouraging us to do? It's encouraging us to be better professionals, better business people. Because if you want to change the course of your professional life, you're going to have to do things differently than you've ever done them.
Right.
And that's the place where I'm like, if you have the ability to understand F&B and how it runs, and teach a little bit of golf and manage some people, you're in a 24/7, weather-controlled, tech-enabled business model that has the potential to thrive for you for a really long time.
I totally agree with that. And that adaptable piece, we've talked about that before, about that in our industry is usually slow to accept change. We're so stuck in tradition sometimes that we get so tunnel vision on that it keeps us from growing like we either should and or need to.
Yeah.
And just like you said, of a facility that all of a sudden says, well, we haven't had any real golf in X amount of time, but we do have this space. We could repurpose this space and turn it into something we already have, particularly if you're a private club, and even most daily fee that I know, we have some F&B component in our place too. So all of a sudden, what's a TrackMan cost now? Is it
a studio like this that has the box,
right,
like the old school box is $70, and the one that's got the above camera downs called the IO is significantly less, like $38, $40.
Okay.
Right. So it's
still pretty good investment there, right? I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like,
either for one person that's trying to do their own thing, or for a club to say, if I repurpose this and I'm going to spend $70,000, then I better make sure that we do this, and this.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's all part of being adaptable, being creative. I was fortunate enough to work for a guy, Mike Eller, who 40-something year PGA professional, and I always thought one of his best attributes was, we used to call it being able to see around the corner. So we honestly didn't care that much about what everybody else was doing. I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but we kind of set the standard, and everybody else called us every year on, what are you guys doing? And then they would decide how I'm going to price myself, what we're going to do based on what we were going to do. But he would see even some of the things that he saw around the corner that I would go, all right, wait, what? There's some people that are just better at that, and I always thought that was, every facility, in my opinion, needs somebody like that in their facility. That isn't just working, and I use this phrase a lot when I talk to people, that you're not necessarily just working in the business all the time, okay? But you're working on the business as well. Those are two very different things, and they both require a certain amount of time. It wasn't until much later in my career that I was able to work on the business more because I was so much in the business. I'm just trying to put out fires and shake hands and kiss babies every day and make sure everything's good, and then something doesn't blow up in the grill, and et cetera, that, my only time to work on the business would be when at 2 o'clock in the morning I would wake up and go, what if we did this? That was my, that's not a good enough time to work on the business. But there's a big difference between those two.
And the thing is that at Hermitage, you had a fairly sizable staff.
True.
As well.
True.
And that's what makes the golf industry, one of the things I've always been fascinated by, is that we spend a lot of time, everybody's in the midst of now, just trying to survive the now, that there's not as much training for new employees as we certainly would like.
Right.
And there's not enough development in the future of being out in front of where can we go because there's not enough human headspace going on there, because everybody is, especially at Hermitage, the phone's ringing all the time. You got people in and out. Two people can't really do that. That's at minimum a 3-person job.
Absolutely.
Because you got 2 courses.
Just at the counter.
And you got the phone ringing all the time. 2 people, the machines the tills are just cranking most of the time. Like today, one of a future guest, he had to move it because 350 rounds today.
Yeah, 100 people added to the tee sheet in the last 2 days. And he was like, dude, we'll have to do it again. I'm hammered now. I got to take care of something else. Got to go take care of what you got to take care of.
So that's the thing is in the service piece, there are certain parts of it that are obvious. Like you have to have enough men to handle what we have, but you also have to have something on the front end of it, trying to keep cultivating new ideas and new business, because at some point, if you're not, somebody else is.
Yeah, no question. Do you think that there is, in talking about off-course situations, these other entities, or whatever we want to call them, other avenues to play, participate in golf, and I love all of them. Do you think there is anything inherently, because I view everything from how it was what I did for 26 years. And that's not necessarily always good. I need to be thinking about everything that is going on in the industry if I care about the entire industry, which I do. Do you think there is anything inherently bad or that we should watch for about these alternative things? I haven't come up with anything necessarily. Like I said, my mantra has always been, if it puts a golf club in somebody's hand, then even at green grass, then I feel like at some points if those people do what they're supposed to do, at some point they're going to be like, let's face it. Touch grass, man. How much do we talk about the things that we isolate ourselves from our phones to tablets to screens everywhere? That old saying where people are like, dude, you just need to get out and touch some grass, I think is becoming more and more important for people now. So if it gets something in their hands early on, great, because I'm hoping I'm going to get them at some point.
Yeah, I believe that it comes down to those largely. These are great places for introductory level golf. Now, obviously, good people go, but usually good people go with introductory people, and that's the only way they can actually kind of go on that date with that girl. But I can still get some reps in, right? You know what I'm saying? Because golfers were a sick bunch.
I know,
right?
It's not right.
But that's like how so it's majority intro based. So I know that Topgolf has struggled in the instruction side because it's not financially feasible for somebody to go there and teach golf with the model that they have.
Okay.
So they haven't been able to capitalize on growing the game, because after somebody who's not good at it and never been taught how to do it goes out there and grabs a hold of that, slimed up grip, that it's not their club and it doesn't really fit them, and they struggle 10 separate times where they barely get it in the air over the mat without going into the net right in front of your face. Are thinking like, I'm no good at this.
Right.
That's not what but it's a novel item once, twice, 3 times. You get to 10, I don't want to do that anymore. It's not fun. Or I can go drink for way cheaper somewhere else, or eat and go way cheaper than somewhere else. If they do a good job of growing the business there, golf courses are going to kill it, because at some point they're going to want to do the real thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's happening. And therein lies this dance between being able to provide what is needed and do you have the resources to make that happen? And that's the juggle. And that's hopefully one of the things we're trying to help solve.
And maybe that's part of that progression of, as people have looked at, we'll call them alternative ways to experience golf, is that big, huge footprint of, I think the article I read called it golftainment or something, versus these smaller, more intimate, my capital outlay is not as much, all the numbers make more sense in this kind of situation, and we know people are gravitating to this kind of thing. So maybe that's a natural progression. I don't know that those things are going to go away. I think they may have to change the way that they do that. I also looked at those places as another avenue for a PGA professional to be able to work. Whether it's, and if we're well-rounded in what we do, then you could be a general manager there, because you do have to have those skills in those other areas, right? Mm-hmm. Or an instructor. I don't know what the model is. You may know what their model is, but it may not be the best for an instructor there. But I just, again, looked at all those things when they first kind of came into the picture, 10 years ago, at least in my mind, 10 years ago. All right, we can either be really afraid of this and turn them into enemies, or we can figure out how does this raise all the boats. And I think it has. I mean, those numbers of 19 million out of 48, I mean, that just shows you it ain't go. And that 19 million, if I remember right, was something like 65% higher just in the last 3 or 4 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. So there is a need, a want, a desire for something like this. And I think we just, hopefully as an industry, we don't get too tunnel vision our traditional ways, and we say, this is okay, man. This is another way to get people to experience the game that we all love.
And think outside of the box in doing so.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, what's the movie quote of the bi-weekly event here called the Whole Pro Podcast?
Our movie quote today, I can't remember the year of this, it's been a minute. But it seems like every time I do this, I say this is one of my favorite movies. But this is a hilarious movie. If you haven't seen it, somebody give me an answer, and I'll post an answer somewhere on some of our socials if you don't know it. But the name of the movie that this quote is from: "I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude." Hey, if you have any suggestions, we ask this particularly of all of our other PGA professionals that watch and listen. Let us know the things that you'd like for us to talk about, like for us to discuss. Virgil and I can talk about stuff forever, but I know there's probably something out there that some of you are thinking, I wish that they would cover. This is an issue in my career. This is something I see. So let us know, and you can email us at thewholepro.com. wholepro@gmail.com. Sorry. Virg, take us home.
Well, for Jim Vernon, I'm Virgil Herring. Thanks for being with us here at the Whole Pro Podcast. We'll see you next time.